Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Welcome to another episode of Private Practice with Soul. I am super duper duper pleased that you're here today because we're talking about something I'm super duper passionate about, which is giving provisional psychologists an opportunity to work with you and your beautiful clients in your private practice. Now, this has come up because when I'm talking to some of my private practice owners, they're saying to me, I don't know about hiring or employing a provisional psychologist. I'm not really sure what they can do because they can't bill under Medicare. So I get it. And I just thought rather than try and have conversations with everybody one-on-one, I might just try and do a one-to-many message and hopefully you'll listen to this. So guys, if you're in another country, some of the things I'm going to be talking about may not apply to you because your country will have its own regulations. So you'll need to check with your country's psychology board for more clear instructions and direction around what you can and can't do. But let me just first say, I totally understand from a private practice owner perspective what the fear is. You're thinking, can I fill this person's diary? You're thinking, how are they going to turn over income for the practice or generate income for the practice when they can't work under Medicare? And you're thinking, do I have to supervise them or what are my responsibilities? And you're probably feeling like maybe this is just going to be a headache. Maybe this sounds good, but in reality, it's just going to be a big headache. So I want to perhaps talk you through some of those things. So I think first off, let's look at the advantages of having somebody working with you that's a provisional psychologist. If somebody's working with you as a provisional psychologist, they're going to be usually motivated, thirsty for learning, eager to acquire information and knowledge and skills around operating in private practice and working in private practice, okay? They're going to be dedicated, they need to be able to complete their hours and they want to be able to complete the work to a satisfactory standard for you so that you can sign off on whatever it is they need to be signed off on so that then at the end of their placement, when they've finished all of their hours, they can apply for their full registration as a psychologist, right? So that's probably the first thing, that most of the time you're going to be working with a provisional psych that really wants to be there, right? And that's interested and that's passionate, things like that. I think the other advantage is that because they're students, they've got a few years of study behind them, and some of them are still doing their thesis and things like that now. I think one of the big benefits is they're up with technology a lot of the time, and that's really important when it comes to your private practice because it can make a world of difference for you having somebody that can hit the ground running versus somebody who you need to teach a whole new software platform too. So given that somebody is already using a computer for their thesis, using it for research, using it for probably their online banking and all those other sorts of things, I think that you can absolutely use that to your advantage because when it comes to your client relationship management, so whether or not you're using software like Best Practice, a Medical Director, Halaxy, Power Diary, all simple practice, it doesn't matter what you're using. It'll just be easier, hopefully, for that person because they're already in the mindset of learning new technology. So that's another thing. Also, when it comes to streaming work, I don't want you to get caught up in thinking, I can't offer them anything because I can't bill them out under Medicare. Stop limiting yourself and stop limiting your practice. Expand your mind and remember back to the days, and it really wasn't that long ago in the history of private practice, before Medicare even existed for psychologists. How else were we making money, guys? We were doing it just privately, right? We were doing it privately. Our clients were getting rebates from private health insurance companies. There were other funding models available, like in Victoria, there's Victims of Crime. It's called VOCAT, Victims of Crime Administrative Tribunal. So there are lots of different ways that a provisional psychologist can bill and invoice and generate income for the practice without Medicare. There's also NDIS. So provisional psychologists can absolutely work as counsellors and be billed out as counsellors under the NDIS in Australia. Okay, so I would encourage you to expand your thinking a little bit. Outside of that, provisional psychologists, like counsellors, can also do other things for you, like run groups. Maybe you could get them to do things that your existing team don't have time to do, but would be really aligned with your vision and your values for your practice, such as creating a before care program and an aftercare program for your practice, right? Maybe a before care program for your practice might look like somebody ringing everybody on the wait list and checking in with them, and maybe doing a 15-minute phone counselling. Maybe your aftercare program is something similar. Maybe you can sit down with your provisional psychologists and ask them to help you create a before care and an aftercare program for your practice. And think about the bigger picture, like step back from that and think, what impact would having a before care and an aftercare program have for my private practice? Okay, so think about that. It's really, really important, and it can just add so much value, and it amplifies the level of care that you're able to provide to your existing clients, as well as help new ones come on board. One of the other things that you can ask provisional psychologists to support you with is not only the administration, but also some of the marketing. They don't have to be doing face-to-face work the whole time that they're working with you. Okay, they don't have to be doing face-to-face client work the whole time. There needs to be a balance, and there needs to be a fair mix, a reasonable mix of admin. Okay, and part of that admin can be your marketing. Part of that marketing might be, they can go with you to do some of the GP meet and greets if you like, and then they can see how you do it. You can model for them, and then, you go and support them, and you give them a turn at running the GP meet and greet. And when you feel like they're competent enough, well, you let them to it, okay? And they go and do it on their own. So you've got that opportunity as well. So there are lots and lots and lots of different ways that creating an opportunity for a provisional psychologist to come and work with your private practice can benefit your practice in a way that aligns with the vision and values of your practice, and that's going to be a win for the provisional psychologist. Okay, but of course there are some key points that you need to be aware of, and in Australia one of those key points is that you will need to employ your provisional psychologist. Okay, they can't be put in on a contract, they will need to be employed. Now the Fair Work Ombudsman has a pay guide, and that is called the Health Professionals and Support Services Award. Okay, you can Google that. It's the Health Professionals and Support Services Award. The pay rates for this award change at the start of each new financial year. Okay, so and it's got really cool clickable links in it that you can go in and you can find all the information that you need to see what level you would need to start your provisional psychologist at. Okay, that's the first thing. And when you're employing your provisional psychologist to come work with you, the other thing that you need to be mindful of is, as an employer, just like with your other staff, you're also going to need to cover work cover insurance and sick leave and annual leave, and put aside money for the tax. Okay, so those sorts of things need to be in place, just like they would for any of your other team members. There's no difference. Employment is employment in Australia in this respect. Okay, the other thing that you need to be aware of is that that psychologist, that provisional psychologist, needs to have a board approved supervisor. And, you know, some people are advising that it's preferable to do that on site. But if you go and have a look at the psychology board information, it does say that that psychologist can be off-site. So that can sometimes be a psychologist that might be based at a university or based at a higher learning institution. But you do not have to organise that. There might be things that you want to include in your contract. So you might want to maybe contribute towards the cost of the supervision for that team member, or you might want to allocate time during the week where they can go and access their supervision. Some of that supervision can be face-to-face. The requirement is that 66% is provided face-to-face. And there's an allowance for group supervision, which is that other 34%. Okay, so that's a requirement, and the current requirement in Australia is 1.5 hours for every 17 hours of paid work that they're doing. Okay, so just so that you're aware of that. And the other thing too is that when you do put a provisional psychologist on, it's very important that they do have their own professional indemnity and liability insurance. Okay, and in Australia there are a couple of places that they can get that from. There's Insurance House, they're very popular, and another one that's also popular is Aon, AON. But I guess the difference between the two is Insurance House has a partnership with AAPI, whereas Aon has a partnership with the APS. Okay, so you can look up both of those if your provisional psychologist is needing guidance around where to get their insurance from. But it's their decision where they want to get it from, but don't put them on until you've got evidence in your hot little hand that they've got a certificate of currency, and that certificate of currency meets the current Australian requirements for a provisional psychologist that's working in private practice. Okay, and you can check that out on the Psychology Board website. It's got all the current information there around what the requirements are for levels of insurance for that provisional psychologist. Okay, I think the last point to note is that sometimes, rather than employers, private practice owners having fear around hiring somebody, the opposite can happen. They get really, really excited, and it is exciting when you get a new provisional psychologist contact you and they want to work with you. It feels really good. It's nice for your ego to hear that they love the practice, to hear that they've been following you for a while, all those sorts of things, right? It makes a lot of sense. They love it. Okay. And so it feels really, really good. And then, yes, of course, you want to go and give them a job straight away. But don't hire the first person that comes along. This is the thing. You need to hire slowly and fire fast. Okay? Hire slow, fire fast. That's the simplest way of saying it. You really just need to start by taking your time and having a clear vision of the role of a provisional psychologist in your practice, and making sure that they're going to be able to fit in with that vision, and that the work that they're going to do extends and embodies your purpose for having them at the practice in the first place. Okay? So they're just some tips from me for you based on your questions this week around hiring a provisional psychologist for your private practice in Australia. And so I hope that this helped. If you have more questions, head over to the Psychology Board website. You could also send me an email, and if I can answer it for you, I absolutely will. And if you're wanting to join a community of private practice owners that are also in the process of hiring provisional psychologists, check out the show notes because you might be interested in joining that community. It's called the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship. And if this is something that you would like more support with on a one-to-one basis, I do have a couple of places open at the moment for coaching for private practice. And if that's something that you would like more information on, again, click the link or send me an email. I'll be happy to connect with you and talk you through what that might look like. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for listening. Absolutely give private practice, absolutely give provisional psychs a shot. Give back. It's part of what's so beautiful about our profession. People gave us opportunities, and I think we have an ethical responsibility to give opportunities to others now. So thank you so much for listening. And yes, I can't wait to hear from you. I hope this podcast helped a lot. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.